So we will characterize Dorothea and Randall. Now, protagonist is going to be Dorothea. Now, let's see. What can we say about her? Well, they're similar in the sense passionate, we can say lustful, but that's really for both of them, right? Now, realistic for here, where she says, she knew he would be altered in appearance. He had prepped her. So we could maybe put here characterization. She's realistic. I can say here Dorothea can be characterized as passionate, lustful. Well, we'll take lustful out. We'll use that for Randall. We'll say characterized as passionate, realistic, and let's see, for her ending. So here's her realism. She's accepting this fact. She knows that Randall's about to come back uh, a little bit transformed. However, what hideous transformation had he undergone, or what devilish transformation was she undergoing in contemplating him? This could tell us that Dorothea can be characterized as guilt ridden because when she's asking what has happened to him, then she's also asking what devilish transformation has happened to her where she is feeling this way, like judging him. So we can say, and guilt ridden. And then for our evidence, although Dorothea prepares herself for Randall's physical appearance, she remains shocked, which results in her feelings of guilt. Or we'll say shame, because she was ashamed that she felt this. And as far as Randall's, let's see. We can say Randall can be characterized as lustful in the beginning, impatient, because at this point he wants to marry her even though he's sick. We can characterize him as hopeful because he even when he talks about his uncle who literally died from whatever he has right now, he's still saying like, now I'm getting morbid. Morbid would mean like talking about dead stuff. And he ended with a laugh that died away in a cough. So we could say he is still optimistic. But wait. So for Dorothea's, we can also characterize her as independent because she obviously leaves without any care, even though Randall offers her this money or his estate if she marries him. So we could say um, she can be characterized as stubborn, stubbornly independent because she does not take Randall's offer of marriage, even though she knows society will shun her. This is why she leaves home. So that's our Dorothea characterization. And for Randall, Randall can be characterized as lustful, optimistic, and impatient. He is described as passionately in love with Dorothea, And even when he contracts a debilitating illness, he remains lighthearted. Let's say that. He shows impatience when he asks Dorothea to marry him early and move away with him. Move away and move south with him. All right, there we go. So there's our character traits. Now, 7 types of conflict. Here we go. So let's see here. We want to say definitely character versus nature, right? We'll say Randall Randall has a conflict with nature because um he becomes ill with, it doesn't exactly say, wait, let's go back. Let's see. Here's her, oh wait, he says his uncle Archibald in a gallop. Let's see. As if the breath was failing him. He doesn't exactly say what he has, but we'll say it was most definitely probably their pneumonia, or probably a pneumonia, or maybe like a bronchitis. So we could say because he becomes ill with a respiratory infection that, I'll say, well, really, that is the conflict. Randall has a conflict with nature because he becomes ill with a respiratory infection, which, and then we could say this, his illness, his conflict with nature also impacts Dorothea because he must, because they are apart while he recovers. There we go. Now, character versus self. We most definitely have this. Dorothea feels guilty, right? Which we could say, all right, so we'll say Dorothea has an internal conflict because she feels guilty for no longer um for no longer wanting to marry Randall after he returns from a trip in ill health. There we go. Then we have our character versus society. Of course, anytime you have a story, anytime you have a Kate Chopin story, you can always say you have this character versus society. Dorothea faces a conflict with society because she is a woman in a woman living in the, we'll say, 19th century, um, because she is a woman of childbearing age living in the 19th century. So she is expected to marry and start a family. However, her fiance has become gravely ill and she has a change of heart, which would not be taken well by society. They would definitely judge her. Like, how dare you not love him anymore just because he's sick? Character versus fate and destiny, we would say Dorothea faces a conflict with destiny because she is unsure of whether or not to go through with her planned engagement to Randall. And then character versus character, Dorothea has a conflict with Randall because Randall, when he arrives to visit her and asks her to marry him immediately, Dorothea is faced with a conflict because she is no longer, how do we want to word it? We can say, at the sight and touch of him, something within her seemed to be shuddering, shrinking, shriveling, losing all semblance of what had been. And then he's saying, we need not wait, Dorothea. So here's our conflict. We must not put it off. Let the marriage be at once, and you will come with me and be with me. She attempted to withdraw from his embrace. And then, so this is her not saying straight out no, even though she's thinking never, never, never. She says, I would only be a hindrance, meaning like an issue. I'll highlight that one. So, what can we say here? We could say that her conflict is basically she doesn't say anything to him. She says, you would only be a hindrance. And then for another reason, Dorothea, I am quite almost sure I shall get well, but the strongest of us cannot count on it. If the worst shall come, I want you to have all I possess. So that's definitely, we could say here, Dorothy is faced with a conflict because she is no longer attracted to Randall, but he wants her to marry him and inherit all his wealth. All right, and then for character versus technology, you could say like this is the conflict that there just wasn't medical advancements at this time, but there's not too much. And then the character versus supernatural, it, unless you were going to make this into some kind of allegory, we don't have a character versus supernatural. So that would be characterization and conflict for the unexpected.